Hi everyone, I'm Heather Wen, a retired nurse practitioner and the founder and practitioner at Arizona Healing Alternatives. On this channel, you'll find several videos, what I like to call aha moments, where we'll be discussing issues that impact your health. So whether you decide to use Western medicine, alternative medicine, or even a mix of both, I'm passionate about you knowing what your options are. For today's aha moment, we're going to be looking at a follow-up to what I just did last time, a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the definition of insanity being doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So in fact, with that saying, that very famous saying that we thought was done by, I think, Albert Einstein, but I think it was really done, when I thought Ben Franklin, I was looking this up, it was actually done in a 1983 novel called Sudden Death by Rita Mae Brown, for those of you who are trivia fans. But besides that, what I'm going to be showing you today is if you're not getting the results you want, if things just seem, like I said, that you feel like you're going insane sometimes, how about trying to do the opposite? So we're going to talk about doing the opposite in just a moment, so stay tuned. So oftentimes when I'm in my office, people come in all the time and they get really frustrated because they're like, look, whether it's following, oh look, I'm, tried this diet or I'm trying this way of eating and then all of a sudden I'm not getting the results. And it's, they try the same thing over and over again. I try this diet, I try that diet, I try this, I try that. Or let's talk about even in relationships. People talk to me all the time about, I keep picking the wrong people to be with, and people talk about, oh, your picker's broken, or whatever the deal is, that you're just picking the wrong people, or that you're not getting what you want out of your relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's family members. And I think it's an important time of year to talk about that, because this is going to come out during the holiday season. So that being the case, it's important to think about, okay, well, wait a minute, I always host the same way, I always give the party and then nobody helps and nobody helps me clean up, and then, the family stuff, there's all these squabbles, there are all these different things. Or it doesn't matter what it is, relationships, health. Let's say with your health, okay, I keep going to the same providers, whether it's Western medicine, alternative medicine, and I'm just not getting the results that I want. So how do we deal with that? This sort of came to me when I was working with people, and I was thinking about, because I talk to people all the time, and a lot of the psychological principles that I've been taught, that I've heard, that really people tend to repeat the same patterns over and over again. And with that thought, I oftentimes tell the people that I'm working with, I'm like, okay, well, you've always done something a certain way. Let's say you came from a background or a family background where things were not really healthy. And so if you came from a dysfunctional communication background or an abusive background or even a functional background, but things were just taught to you in a certain way that just don't seem to work for you, then what I tell people is that's going to feel familiar. So doing it the same way over and over again, the way you've been taught to do it, is always going to feel safe and familiar. But then when you look at it, are you getting the results that you want? And if the answer is no, then why not change it up a bit? And so I tell people, okay, if you've always come to a situation like, let's say it's holiday and let's say it's hosting, and we've talked about this in prior videos, that for the holiday videos, that if all of a sudden you're always hosting and then you're always getting stressed out and then you're not delegating responsibilities, or you're expecting people to do things and they're not, if you're the one that's hosting, there's a couple of options. You can decide, I'm not gonna host, I'm just gonna attend this year. And when you attend, then that's some really cool stuff where the door's your ally. Okay, and I'm gonna do a little video on that too, a little short video on that, where it's like, it is, the door's your ally from the standpoint that if you're done and you don't want to do the dishes and you're there, then if family dynamics start to get uncomfortable, you can always excuse yourself and say, you know what, I really need to head home. And that's what it means by the door's your ally. So there's that possibility. But the other possibility is if you're one of these people that you don't feel that everybody else can do it right in the family hosting situation, then what you can do is do the opposite and say, hey, as far as me, the perfection everywhere always thing, which we talked about in other videos, it's like, why don't you sit back and say, hey, this person, I need you to do the dishes, or I need this and this person to do this, and start delegating things and seeing if it can become easier. Now, of course, I'm not going to do it the way you would do it, but see if that can change things up and how you feel. Of course, when you start doing the opposite and you start doing different things, what's the first thing that's going to happen? It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel strange. It's going to feel different. And that's okay, because if it goes smoother, even if it feels awkward and different, same thing with communication techniques, which we talked about in communication videos, that if you're trying to do something different when you're communicating with somebody and it's just, oh, we're always butting heads, or oh, it's not working, and you start using things like the I statements, like I feel a certain way, you're going to feel really stupid. You're going to feel really dumb doing this because it seems so stilted and scripted and all that stuff, which it is in the beginning. But once you start doing that and it starts changing things around you, then, or it makes you, let's say it doesn't change things around you, but all of a sudden you start feeling better because you're able to express yourself in a way that helps you release things, but not do it in a really aggressive way, then basically it will feel strange, but then eventually things start changing and are different. If we're talking about diet and you've always tried this way of doing things, maybe it's not that you go on a diet, but you just cut portions in half, or that you do something different than what you'd normally do. And on the lines of doing other things the opposite, think about when you are going for a workout. Well, do you do leg day every day? You switch it up, right? So legs, arms, different things. And in fact, if people are training, if you train your body to only do one specific thing, like only aerobics or only weight training kind of stuff, then the body sort of adjusts and get used to that. You always have to keep changing things up, don't you? So another example of that too is even Viktor Frankl in Total Body Modification, he talked about supplements, that doing supplements and taking certain supplements, whether it's vitamin C or otherwise, it's sometimes really good to change that up, because sometimes the body just adjusts to things, and then doing a different brand can help, this sort of thing. And when I see patients, we muscle test all the time and change, do we need to change brands? What does the body want to do? So those principles too are really important. And it's the same even principles in hypnosis that I do with people, where it's like changing those old patterns into things that actually work for you, work for this body. So not only physical, when we're talking about workouts and supplements, but also emotionally, if you keep getting those same results. You know, there's some people where they always date, like, let's say if it's a woman, they always date the bad boys. We'll change it up and only date nice guys. You know, change it up and see how that feels. Of course, it may feel boring at first because it's not so exciting when it's not this adrenaline rush all the time, right? Or all the drama in a certain relationship. But changing that up, you can truly change how you view the world and how you can get what it is you really want and what is really healthier for you in the long run. And I've done this in my own life as well, where I'm like, hey, I remember that I tend to make things really, really, really complicated. Oh, I'm really good at that. And I remember when I first opened my practice as a total body modification practitioner so many years ago, I made everything really complicated as far as charting and this and this and this and this and this. And I just made it super, super complicated for myself and spent a lot of time on it. Well, when I decided to, then I went back and did Western medicine for a while. And when I started to reopen my practice in 2014 and just do this now, I said, you know what, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make everything where I would make things so difficult and so hard. And so I'm going to make it easier. So I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I would have done the first time. And when I did that, it made things so much easier, and it was so much more calming for me. But did it feel weird? Yeah, because it felt like, oh, that's too easy. Right? And so seriously, I would recommend to you, play around with that idea. Play around with the concept that if I'm doing everything this way and I've always done it this way, then how about I do things differently and see and do the exact opposite and see whether that changes the outcome. Play around with that and let me know. Write in the comment section, did it help? Did you try something different? Was it exactly the same? It's just an interesting concept to play around with that idea.